If you enjoy the rich and luxurious flavor of tropical spices along with your favorite American whiskey, then today's episode is just for you. Welcome to Cocktail Limelight. I'm your host, Eric Castro, and today we're going to be exploring 3 of my original creations in the genre of Tiki. Now, while most of us have a sense of familiarity with the tropical and Tiki category, generally we tend to associate it with rum. And if it's not rum, then it tends to be gin or brandy. In fact, when you flip through a lot of these old school cocktail books, it's very rare to find one that features rye whiskey, which is a damn shame because I feel like rye whiskey and the flavors therein lend themselves so well to the Tiki genre. I mean, you can take one sip of rye on its own and you're often hitting the nose with cinnamon, brown sugar, anise, and other baking spices, which honestly fit right in within the arena of Tiki drinks. One of the great examples that I can think of is the Eastern Sour, which dates back to the 1950s and was actually featured in episode 2 of Cocktail Limelight. That drink can be made with either rye or bourbon and is a perfect example and exemplifies just how well that whiskey can work within Tiki cocktails. But enough chit chat, let's get to the cocktails. This first one is called the Pit Viper, and just like the name implies, it packs a bit of a bite. But it's more of a love bite, as it'll keep you coming back for more. It features grapefruit alongside a maple sweetness, and it is not only perfect on a hot day, but it's perfect for those folks that aren't really into tropical drinks, but are just a bit Tiki curious. And they're also probably swingers, let's be honest, they're probably swingers. To make a Pit Viper, first we start out with 3/4 ounce fresh squeezed lime juice, followed up with 3/4 ounce grapefruit, along with a 1/2 ounce of grade B maple syrup, and a 1/2 ounce of Amaro. Lastly, we're gonna be topping off this mixture with 2 ounces of Rye Whiskey. Now it's time to add some ice and give it a good shake. Now instead of straining this drink, we're actually gonna pour the entire contents of the glass into our Collins. This technique has been referred to as the dirty dump. That doesn't sound all that sexy, so today we're gonna call it the party pour. And now for the garnish, a fresh grapefruit twist, as well as a bit of mint. And there you have it, folks, the Pit Viper. Tasty. The next drink that we're gonna be making is a riff on the Jungle Bird. And I know we haven't yet made that on an episode of Cocktail Limelight, but stay tuned, I promise you it's on the way. So to make sure that you don't miss out on that episode, be sure to muddle the subscribe button so that you're notified when the episode debuts. But in the meantime, the cocktail that we're gonna be making today is one that I came up with when I was working at Boilermaker. It's a mixture of pineapple, Amaro, and rye. Today we're gonna be making it with Braulio, but you know what? This cocktail works well with just about any Amaro that you can think of. But enough of me chit-chatting, let's go ahead and make one now. This one is called The Woman with the Tattooed Hands. And to make one, we start out with a 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, as well as 1.5 ounces of pineapple, a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, 3/4 ounce Amaro, just as promised, and 1.5 ounces of Rye Whiskey. Now let's add some ice and give it a shake. And just as before, we're gonna be using the party pour on this cocktail. And now let's go ahead and finish this cocktail off with an orange slice as garnish. And there you have it, folks, The Woman with the Tattooed Hands, an American whiskey take on the Jungle Bird. I feel weird saying that each of these cocktails is delicious because since they're my own creations, it makes me feel like I'm like full of myself. But you know what? Like, facts are facts. This is delicious. Now this last drink's a lot of fun because it feels kind of like a michelada meets American whiskey meets Miami Beach mixed with a bit of cinnamon and a little bit of brown ale. It's called the Castaway Cowboy, and I'm particularly proud of this one as you not only don't see a lot of rye whiskey in most traditional tiki drinks, but you see even less beer cocktails in the entire tiki arena. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's one out there. I mean, if I'm tripping or whatever, go ahead and leave in the comments below. Maybe we'll make it a future episode. But I'm getting off topic. Let's get back to the topic at hand, and that's making a Castaway Cowboy. Now to make a Castaway Cowboy, first we're gonna start out with 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Followed up with 3/4 ounce lime juice, as well as 3/4 ounce grapefruit juice. Now to round this out and tie everything together, we're gonna add 3/4 ounce cinnamon syrup. And lastly, we're gonna be adding 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey to this one. But whereas the first two we used American rye whiskey, this one I figured we show a little bit of love to our friends up in Canada with 1.5 ounces of Canadian rye. Now for those of you that watch the show, you're pretty aware probably that for the most part, I tend to build most cocktails around 2 ounces of spirit, which is why you might be surprised that I only put 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey in this one. Now the reason why is, since this cocktail is gonna be topped with beer at the end, I pulled back the rye whiskey a little bit to make sure that the booze was still in harmony with the other ingredients. Now let's add some ice and give it a shake. Now his cocktail's all done being shaken, but before we pour it into the glass, now we're gonna top that mixture off with 1.5 ounces of brown ale. Now let's go ahead and strain the entire contents into the glass. Now that this drink is looking all tasty and delicious, we're about to garnish it with a little bit of fresh grated cinnamon, as well as more than just a little bit of mint. And there you have it, folks, the Castaway Cowboy. Oh my, it's got so much of what I love. Whiskey, baking spices, and a little bit of craft beer. Now there you have it, folks. 3 tropical cocktails, all featuring rye whiskey. Not only do these drinks perfectly exemplify what we love about the category, but they're also incredibly delicious and refreshing. So with that said, are there any other tiki cocktails that you'd like to be featured on a future episode of Cocktail Limelight? If so, leave them in the comments down below, and who knows, maybe we'll showcase it in a future episode. And with that said, if you'd like to dive deeper into the world of craft cocktails, be sure to check out the Bartender Large podcast, which I host on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else where quality podcasts are found. And with all that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Damn, I just realized all the drinks are brown. Oh, well, fuck it. People are like, wait, why the other one we give the other drink a good shake and this one just a shake? What the fuck's going on?